Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Det regner. Hey, what up? Hvad så? Er det urt? Det er urt. Du skal have urt. Sådan urt. Velkommen til. Til skifte, til så jeg kan have chatten klar. Hvordan går den dag, Pyrske? Stille og roligt, Urt. Stille og roligt, stille og roligt. Stille og roligt. Det fuck. Jeg har chatten her ved siden af, så... Prøv lige at finde den her. Der er løn i morgen. Skønt, skønt. Hvor mere? Jeg var ude at se en ny lejlighed i dag. Jeg har fået ikke løn før fredag. Nå okay, fair nok. Nå okay, men det der... Nå, var den flot? Var den flot, den lejlighed der? Var den flot? Ja, okay, fair nok. Okay, fair. Fair.
The Champions League final is the pinnacle
Hvad så,
of club football.
Sofus?
This
Hey.
historic competition went through a rebrand back in 1993, and in the 32 years since then, we've witnessed some of the best football matches to have ever been played. With the 2025 Champions League final just a few weeks away, PSG or Inter Milan will write their names in the history books as they follow in the footsteps of some of the most legendary clubs to have ever played in the competition. Today, we're taking a look at every Champions League final since 1993 to see which finals have stood the test of time and which matches have faded away in the hearts of most football fans. There is no sports event quite like the Champions League final.
Lige præcis, Sofus, lige præcis. Du er loyal.
Starting in the F tier, the only match to be ranked this low is the 2003 Champions League final between Juventus and AC Milan. The all-Italian matchup took place at Old Trafford in Manchester, England, but even with two star-studded lineups on both sides of the pitch, the match did not deliver. The only notable highlights in the first 120 minutes were some solid saves from both Dida and Gianluigi Buffon, but neither side were able to create any clinical chances that would have opened up this match. The penalty shootout wasn't much better, with Trezeguet missing the opening penalty, followed by 4 missed penalties in a row from the second to the fourth round. In the end, it would be Andrei Shevchenko's penalty that would lead Milan to European glory. But for the 62,000 fans in attendance and the hundreds of millions watching at home,
Hi,
it's
Mia.
incredibly lackluster. The 2003 Champions League final is one that most of us wouldn't want to revisit, and it goes into the F tier today. Next up in the D tier, the first 3 matches are the 1993 Champions League final between Marseille and AC Milan, the 1998 Champions League final between Juventus and Real Madrid, and the 2019 Champions League final between Tottenham and Liverpool. Marseille's victory in the inaugural Champions League final is still to this day the only time a French side has won the the tournament, but the match itself wasn't the most exciting. The match was a tight affair from the beginning, and the only goal of the match came from a set-piece play that saw Basil Bully's header finding the back of the net just before halftime. Even with a star-studded squad with Marco van Basten, Frank Rijkaard, and Paolo Maldini, the Italian side did very little on the offensive side of the ball, with Marseille defending for their lives in the second half. The underdog story that followed this win quickly became overshadowed by a match-fixing scandal, and while
Stille og roligt, stille og roligt, stille og roligt.
Win in 1993 just isn't very memorable in the grand scheme of things. The same can be said for the 1998 Champions League final, which saw Juventus and Real Madrid battle it out at the Amsterdam Arena in the Netherlands. A match that saw Madrid aiming to win the tournament for the first time in 32 years and Juventus' third straight final. The hype surrounding this game did not translate to quality football on the pitch. The first half wasn't so bad, with Juventus holding on to possession and Real Madrid looking to threaten on the counterattack, but the deadlock would remain going into halftime. The only goal of the match came from Predrag Mijatovic in the 66th minute, and even that goal was shrouded with controversy as he looked to be slightly offside before the goal went in. All in all, the 1998 Champions League final failed to live up to the hype, and with a potentially controversial goal to finish things off, it doesn't stand out when compared to other finals. The same can be said for the 2019 Champions League final, which saw Tottenham and Liverpool square off at the Wanda Metropolitano Stadium in Madrid, Spain. The match got off to a very fiery start, with Moussa Sissoko being penalized for a handball after just 22 seconds, which most people argue was a soft call. Mohamed Salah's penalty goal in the second minute was thought to be the event that set the tone for this match, but not much else happened afterwards, with Spurs holding on to possession. Tottenham had the better second half as they threatened to score, but with Divock Origi's goal in the 87th minute, the match would end as a 2-0 victory for Liverpool instead. Considering the fact that the match started and ended in exciting fashion, it's unfortunate that everything in between was rather sluggish and forgettable. Continuing on in the D tier, the final three matches are the 2020 Champions League final between PSG and Bayern Munich, the 2021 Champions League final between Manchester City and Chelsea, and the 2023 Champions League final between Manchester City and Inter Milan. The 2020 final took place at the Estadio da Luz in Lisbon, Portugal, and considering the fact that the game was played behind closed doors, there was very little hype surrounding this match. The Parisian side had multiple chances to score in the first half, but Manuel Neuer's heroics would deny both Neymar and Mbappe from breaking the deadlock. The German side came alive in the second half, but apart from Kingsley Coman's header in the 59th minute, the chances that did come in this match were few and far between. It was a great result for Bayern Munich, a heartbreaking loss for PSG, and an all-around snooze fest for the fans watching at home. Things didn't get much better in the 2021 Champions League final that took place at the Estadio do Dragão in Porto, Portugal, but at least there were some fans in the crowd this time around. The first half saw both teams doing their best to break one another's defensive line, and Kai Havertz did exactly that with a great run and finish in the 42nd minute. The second half was a tough watch for Manchester City and their fans, with De Bruyne going off injured and Mahrez just narrowly missing the target in stoppage time. Apart from N'Golo Kante, who deserved to win the Man of the Match award, this tactical chess match wasn't the most entertaining for the neutral fans out there. The same goes for the 2023 Champions League final that took place at the Ataturk Olympic Stadium in Istanbul, Turkey. This time around, Manchester City faced off against Inter Milan, and luck was truly on their side in this match. The first half was not nice to the English side, with Kevin De Bruyne going off injured yet again in the 36th minute. The second half saw Rodri score a wonder goal in the 68th minute to give City the lead, but with some huge misses from DeMarco and Lukaku for Inter, the match ended as a 1-0 victory for the boys in blue. The goal itself is the redeeming factor here, but with few chances and long spells of possession that went nowhere, this match will fail to stand the test of time. These 6 matches failed to deliver the high-octane football that is expected of a Champions League final, so they go into the D tier today. Moving on to the C tier, the first 3 matches are the 1995 Champions League final between Ajax and AC Milan, the 1996 Champions League final between Ajax and Juventus, and the 2000 Champions League final between Real Madrid and Valencia. The 1995 Champions League final took place at the Ernst Happel Stadion in Vienna, Austria, and this match was a true example of old school versus new school. The defending champions AC Milan had a superstar backline made up of Maldini, Baresi, and Desailly, while Ajax had homegrown youngsters in Van der Sar, Seedorf, Davids, and Kluivert. While the 90 minutes didn't feature a plethora of chances, the fact that Ajax were holding their ground against the reigning champions was a spectacle to witness. The deadlock would eventually be broken by Patrick Kluivert in the 85th minute, and with his precise effort finding the back of the net, the Dutch side would come away with a shocking 1-0 victory. In a David versus Goliath matchup like this one, it was the young, energetic Ajax side that came out on top in a match that still lingers in the memories of true football fans. The 1996 Champions League final was yet another Dutch versus Italian final, with Ajax and Juventus facing off at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, Italy. This match was much more lively in the first half, with Fabrizio Ravanelli scoring in the 13th minute for Juventus, followed by Jari Litmanen's goal just before halftime. However, both sides were much more cautious after the break, and the match was still tied at 1-1 after 120 minutes. With Edgar Davids and Sonny Siloy missing their penalties, Juventus would go on to win the match by a 4-2 scoreline after penalties, giving them their first Champions League title since 1985. While it wasn't the worst match in the history of the competition, it certainly wasn't the flashiest either. either. The same goes for the 2000 Champions League final, which saw Real Madrid and Valencia battle it out at the Stade de France in Saint-Denis, France. The first ever all-Spanish final was great for national pride, but the match itself was incredibly one-sided, going the way of the Galacticos. Fernando Morientes opened the scoring in the 39th minute, which anyone could have seen coming given how dominant Madrid were in the first half. Steve McManaman's incredible volley in the 67th minute and Raul's counterattack goal in the 75th minute propelled Madrid to victory as they came away with a 3-0 win over a Valencia side that never really posed a threat. A solid performance from the Real Madrid side, but too one-sided to really be considered amongst the greatest games. Continuing on in the C tier, the next three matches are the 2007 Champions League final between AC Milan and Liverpool, the 2010 Champions League final between Bayern Munich and Inter Milan, and the 2022 Champions League final between Liverpool and Real Madrid. The 2007 Champions League final took place at the Olympic Stadium in Athens, Greece, but it wasn't the rematch of the 2005 final that we all expected it to be. The first half ended somewhat controversially, with Pirlo's free kick bouncing off of Inzaghi's arm and finding the back of the net. He redeemed himself in the 82nd minute with his lovely finish that beat Pepe Reina, and with Dirk Kuyt's consolation goal coming in the 89th minute, the match ended as a 2-1 victory for the Italian side. While this match didn't live up to the hype that came 2 years earlier, it was a solid showing from both sides and an interesting tactical battle between two of Europe's best teams. The same goes for the 2010 Champions League final that saw Bayern Munich and Inter Milan face off at the Santiago Bernabeu in Madrid, Spain. With Jose Mourinho's defensive mindset for Inter Milan and Louis van Gaal's possession-based Bayern Munich side, this clash of footballing ideologies produced a solid match. Diego Milito's man of the match performance saw him score two beautiful goals in both the 35th and 70th minute as he carved through the German defense with ease. With just 6 attempts on target to go alongside 16 fouls, Bayern Munich failed to show up on the world's biggest stage, and they were truly punished for it. Overall, Inter Milan fought hard for this victory, and it turned out to be a solid final game for everyone who tuned in. The following match in this list took place in the 2022 Champions League final, with Liverpool taking on Real Madrid at the Stade de France in Saint-Denis, France. This match was defined by Thibaut Courtois putting up one of the best goalkeeping performances in the tournament's history, and he stopped 9 total shots on target, with 5 of them coming in the first half. Real Madrid eventually got on the score sheet with a tap-in at the back post from Vinicius Jr., and that would be the only goal in this match. While the scoreline may have been low, we got to witness a once-in-a-lifetime goalkeeping effort, and no matter how much Liverpool tried, they simply couldn't break Madrid down. And finally, to finish off the C tier, we have the 2024 Champions League final between Dortmund and Real Madrid. The most recent final and the last tournament to feature the group stage format was incredibly similar to the 2022 final. The German side failed to control possession in the first half, but with some incredible attempts from Adeyemi and Füllkrug, Dortmund were truly pressuring their Spanish counterparts. Real Madrid did a great job to weather the storm, and their efforts were rewarded in the second half when 2 goals from Carvajal and Vinicius Jr. gave them a comfortable 2-0 win over Dortmund. A match that is more remembered for Dortmund's failures rather than Madrid's achievements, but still memorable nonetheless. All things considered, these 7 matches had their fair share of special moments, so they go into the C tier for now. Moving on to the B tier, the first 3 matches are the 2001 Champions League final between Bayern Munich and Valencia, the 2004 Champions League final between AS Monaco and FC Porto, and the 2006 Champions League final between Barcelona and Arsenal. The 2001 Champions League final took place at the San Siro in Milan, Italy, and both Bayern Munich and Valencia were looking for redemption. The first 10 minutes were filled with chaos, with Mendieta scoring a penalty for Valencia in the 3rd minute, while Mehmet Scholl missed a penalty for Bayern Munich in the 7th minute. The German side found their equalizing goal in the 50th minute, with Effenberg's penalty beating the Spanish goalkeeper. The rest of the match was a tight affair, but neither side could find another goal, and after 120 minutes, the match was headed to penalties. Neither team did particularly well in the shootout, but with Oliver Kahn stepping up and making 3 crucial saves, Bayern went on to win by a 5-4 scoreline. A match that started off strong and finished even stronger, this match deserves to be talked about more. The same goes for the 2004 Champions League final that took place at the Arena Aufschalke in Gelsenkirchen, Germany, between underdogs AS Monaco and FC Porto. This match could have gone any which way, but the Portuguese side stepped up and took their chances with relative ease. A powerful shot from Carlos Alberto from inside the box, a close-range finish from Deco, and a thunderous strike from Elenichev sealed the deal for Porto on what is undoubtedly the best day in the club's history. Porto were clearly the stronger team in this game, and despite Monaco's best efforts to break their defensive line, the Portuguese side played to a level that many people wouldn't have expected. A great game from start to finish to go alongside an even better underdog story. Moving on to a much closer game, the 2006 Champions League final saw Barcelona and Arsenal square off at the Stade de France in Saint-Denis, France. The first half was a rollercoaster ride for the English side, as their goalkeeper Jens Lehmann received the first ever red card in the Champions League final for his challenge on Samuel Eto'o. Their replacement goalie Manuel Almunia made some solid saves, and in the 37th minute, Sol Campbell's header found the back of the net, giving them a 1-0 lead at halftime. Barcelona weren't going to let this match slip away from them, and within just 4 minutes, they would get 2 goals from Samuel Eto'o and Juliano Belletti, giving them a 2-1 lead. Arsenal tried their best to mount a comeback, but the match would end with that exact scoreline, giving Barcelona their first Champions League title since 1992. A back-and-forth match with plenty of drama and excitement excitement on the pitch, this match won't be forgotten anytime soon. Continuing on in the B tier, the final two matches are the 2009 Champions League final between Barcelona and Manchester United and the 2016 Champions League final between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. The 2009 Champions League final saw Barcelona and Manchester United battle it out at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, Italy, with Messi and Ronaldo taking center stage. Barcelona wasted no time getting on the score sheet, with Eto's brilliant solo effort coming in the 10th minute, followed by an unbelievable header from Messi in the 70th minute. Barcelona controlled possession while disrupting any rhythm that United came up with, and Xavi and Iniesta dictated play from the midfield with a level of class that we rarely see these days. It may not have been the most dramatic final, but the precision and control of this Barcelona side was a spectacle to behold. And to round things off, the 2016 Champions League final saw Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid square off at the San Siro in Milan, Italy. While it may not have been as dramatic as their previous encounter in 2014, both sides played some incredible football that led to a memorable match. Sergio Ramos opened the scoring in the 15th minute, but his goal was shrouded in controversy as it should have been called back for offside. Antoine Griezmann's penalty miss in the 48th minute made the match even more tense, but Yannick Carrasco's goal in the 79th minute gave the Atletico supporters some hope. While the match was stuck at 1-1 after 90 minutes, extra time did not produce much, and penalties were awaiting the two Spanish sides. Juanfran's miss on Atletico's fourth kick would prove to be costly, and with Ronaldo converting Real Madrid's final spot kick, the match would end as a 5-3 victory for the men in white. Real Madrid proved to the world that they were the best team from the Spanish capital once again, and Atletico Madrid would have to endure heartbreak for the second time in 3 years. These 5 matches were incredibly entertaining in their own rights as they find themselves in the B tier today. Starting things off in the A tier, the first 3 matches are the 1994 Champions League final between AC Milan and Barcelona, the 1997 Champions League final between Dortmund and Juventus, and the 2002 Champions League final between Leverkusen and Real Madrid. The 1994 Champions League final saw an underdog AC Milan side take on the Barcelona Dream Team at the Olympic Stadium in Athens, Greece. The Italian side wasted no time getting on the score sheet, and with 2 goals coming from Daniele Massaro in the 22nd and 45th minute, Milan took a dominant 2-0 lead going into halftime. Barcelona did everything they could to get back in this match, but some brilliant midfield play led to Milan scoring 2 more goals in the second half as the match ended with a 4-0 victory for the Italians. It was a true display of tactical brilliance from Fabio Capello that was orchestrated to perfection by his players, ending in a victory that few people could have predicted. It may have been a one-sided affair, but when you play football as well as Milan did that night, it deserves to go down in sporting history. The next match on this list is the 1997 Champions League final that saw Dortmund and Juventus face off at the Olympiastadion in Munich, Germany. This game was a definition of a back-and-forth match, and even though Juventus were the heavy favorites, Dortmund put up an all-time performance. Dortmund took control of the first half, with Karl-Heinz Riedel netting a brace in the 29th and 34th minute, leaving the Italians stunned as they went into halftime. Juventus got a goal back from Alessandro Del Piero in the 65th minute, and it seemed like the comeback was well and truly on for the Italians. In the end, it would be substitute Lars Ricken who would score a beautiful chip shot over the opposing goalkeeper, as Dortmund went on to win the match by a 3-1 scoreline. This match was full of goals, end-to-end